You're tuned into the Pulse Kamangu Becky Kenya, but you're from 12 until 3 o'clock. And on a Monday, clockwork, 12:30, Siangena Lindaba. Hustle Hard with George Billionaire. George Billionaire is a serial entrepreneur. He's a businessman and the owner, founder, president, the captain of Pro Air. And Pro Air makes the weather behave. When he comes through on Hustle Hard, he's not only representing all the businesses that he does, but he represents every business mind in Zimbabwe as a whole to say, hey, we are here to make sure that you are equipped, you're empowered, to make sure that your business goes the extra mile. So if you're tuning in and you're like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, you're tuned in to the right program. Today we are talking about 5 things. You know, there could be more, but he said, 5. Talking about 3, kind of 2. Because, hey, some of you might be too much information, but for some it's like, this is exactly what I needed. We're talking about 5 things that if you do these 5 things, you will change your life for the better. It will work out for good. It will work out for good. It's not just, hey, 5 things, but you know what's got 5 things, and they know those 5 things. Now, I don't know whether to call him Uncle Billy today, or do I say Captain George, reporting for duty. Uncle George.
Holla, holla.
Or Captain George. Don't you Captain George?
Dun, dun.
Yes, this is your captain speaking.
This is your Captain George speaking. Thank you all for coming on board 100.4 Airlines. And today I'm with my co-pilot Becky K. We will be cruising at an average altitude of 36,000 feet above sea level. And make sure you sit back, relax, get your pens and papers out. Knowledge is not power unless it's applied. So make sure soon after this flight you apply the things that you will have learned. Thank you once again for flying with Capitalk.
And the sole mandate of this flight is to provoke, inspire, and equip your mind. 5 things that we need to do. Okay, before we get into the 5 things, how was your weekend?
Holla, holla. It's your boy, George Billy, with none other Becky K. It's great to be back. Last week I was away, Becky. I was out
You were winning. You were out winning.
I was out with the amazing G's, doing what I do. And this weekend was also amazing. I was with some university students who are studying Faculty of Medicine, and I was there doing some mentorship program. And you know, it was great. I had a good time. I always feel fulfilled when I'm speaking to the younger generation and giving them a little insight that, you know, life is not a sprint, because there are a lot of disheartened people who are studying. You know, some of them were saying we're doctors, we know how much doctors earn, and imagine we're studying all these years, 3 years of this, then 7 years of practice. Then after 10 years, we know how much we're going to get.
Yeah.
But I was there telling them that all things, not some things, but all things work together for good.
I like that.
And what you need to do, especially in this modern day and age, we all may look the same, but the difference with people who make it is people who take action, people who are different. We always say here, Becky, if you're willing to do what everybody else is not doing, you will get the results that everybody else is not getting. So I was telling them that there's so much AI, there's so much tech happening.
Yeah.
There were a lot of speakers talking about there are a lot of products that are being, you know, brought up, and we need to also just begin to think differently, because we can't all be doctors, we can't all be lawyers, engineers, but you can create something that can change the world. I remember in COVID, we got to know about so many applications only because it was that time of COVID. So there's so much opportunities that are there that people can come up with an idea. Right. And especially in the doctors fraternity, with AI coming up, trust you me, there's a lot of jobs that are going to go. And we can't all be doctors. We can't all be whatever it is, but you can be uniquely different in your field. And I was encouraging them that, you know what, the best way to keep people healthy is to actually teach people how to live healthy lives, how to exercise, how to eat healthy, how to do certain things.
Right.
And there was a lady who was there who said, listen, I started a YouTube channel. I'm talking about this, and now I've got subscribers. And I was like, well done. That's totally thinking outside the box, because social media is also now a stream of income.
It is.
So it's important that we really just don't keep murmuring and complaining, and we start thinking outside the box. I always love to look at first world countries, and what those people do, because all you have to do is see the idea that's there, begin to apply it here. There's nothing called copying. There's nothing that was copied on this planet. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just your idea which needs to be built up, and people gain access to it, and then people begin to use it, and once it gets popular, you get paid for it. So people shouldn't just think because I studied medicine, I should do medicine. It was really interesting. I loved the question and answer segment there, because I saw a whole lot of minds were really eager to learn, and I wish there would be so many more platforms, especially for the younger generation, because some of them are studying with no idea of what the ultimate thing is going to be. They're just studying to please, most of them, their parents. They are not doing it for themselves.
Or just to push time.
You see, so I
can't just be sitting idle.
So it was great to have some other fellow entrepreneurs who were there, sharing their journeys, sharing how they went through a lot, and now how they've made it. So it was really intriguing, and I also learned a lot, as much as I was there as a speaker. So it was really mind-blowing. And
I think that's the best, hey, when you go there and you're like, I'm here to speak, and then when you hear other people speak and other minds opening up, you're like, man, I'm so happy I came here.
True that.
And then you pick up, a couple of things, and then you add them to your already existing routine and pattern.
True.
We've got those that are tuned in on Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in on Facebook. You can watch what is happening in studio on our Facebook platform on Capital 100.4 FM on Facebook. You spoke about young people being given, more platforms to explore, and their minds expand when they do that, right? What's your take then in terms of the whole African solutions for African problems? Do we need to be looking on the outside? Because you mentioned international, you'd be looking at what the other international counterparts are doing. Should we just focus on this is Africa, we've got African problems and they need African solutions? Can an international solution solve an African problem?
Definitely. I mean, if you look at the creativity that we've had here in this country, we've had people who can build up electronic cars, guys who can make generators that use absolutely no fuel.
Right.
There's a lot of creative things that have come out of African people. But I think in Africa there's no acknowledgement, there's no appreciation of people who come up with ideas. Otherwise, some of the ideas are then taken by somebody else who wants to claim it's theirs, which is why most of these people then go to a foreign land to actually then harness their gift and their talent, and they are financed to do that. So I think there's so much potential in this country. One thing about Zimbabweans, we are very creative.
Very.
If you see some of the jokes that we come up with, even though we're going through hard times, if you see some of the products and the resilience that we have, it shows that we are a different nation compared to others, because we've been through the most. But trust you me, I can guarantee you, whichever country a Zimbabwean is, they are very resilient, they are creative, they are most likely, if they are a waiter, if they're a doctor, if they're an engineer, they are most likely the head of the team where they are working because of that resilience and creativity. So, I believe there's so many solutions in this country. All that's needed is just a little push, from the relevant authorities to begin to acknowledge and give more insight. I love what the STEM lady is doing.
Ooh,
she's going on to empower the girl child.
Yeah.
Right? And not just only the girl child. It's also important to empower the youth as a whole. Because trust you me, our youth, and I was talking about it this weekend, that our educational system created workers and not creatives. We were told going to school that you must pass, you must get an A. If you get anything else, you have failed. But you find out the most creative people most of the time are not the most well academic people. So You cannot always judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree when a fish was meant to do something. So I think it's important that we just begin to allow people to embrace their gifts so that we can really get the best out of the certain individuals that we have in this country. And there's so many solutions in this country. There's so many people out there who have so much talent. All they need are just these incubation hubs to just help them to achieve what they want to do. And you'll be amazed about what can come out of this beautiful country.
All right, we've got a few minutes before we get into our topic. I just want to explore this event that you were a speaker at over the weekend with medical students. I am waiting for a time where, especially like the young doctors, right? They have got so much to explore within the medical field, right? They may not practice, or maybe they will practice, because obviously you have to speak from an experience point of view. But there was this American show called Doctors, and it was so educational that by the time you finished watching or listening to it, you would know exactly what to check on your body, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat, the products to use, products not to use, and they went all the way to the dermatology side of things. But vakatanga medical, and I'm thinking, yes, most of these medical students might not all end up practicing doctors, because like you said, some are doing it for their parents and they just have the knowledge. Wouldn't it be like an awesome thing if you had like a group of young doctors that's just start this medical show? Like in my mind, because I'm in media, that's where my mind went. If I had medical information, I would be like on those platforms and giving out education. We had a lady last week, Wednesday, for She Diaries. She was a cancer survivor, cervical cancer. And the one thing that she kept on reiterating was, there's not enough education out there about how to take care of our bodies, and we need this information. So someone sent through a message and said, what a paradox. If George spoke to medical students, who will thrive on the sick? Who will look after the sick? So if the medical students start telling people how to live healthy, chances of these medical doctors getting patients will diminish. I mean,
Becky, it's amazing.
Check where the mind is.
It's amazing. It's amazing, the thought process of people. But it's also one thing that people need to realize. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. People underestimate the power of technology. Very rarely, kudara, you used to have to go into town to window shop and look for something, and purchase it, and then drive back home. Due to technology now, you can just order something, be it food, be it clothes, and it's delivered to you, right? Back in the day, you had to go to a doctor, right? Now there are things online where you now not necessarily, you can type in your symptoms and you can be prescribed what to do, and it's simply done and dusted. So most of these things that we so claim are, recently there are cars that can drive themselves. So you can imagine all those guys who have a driver's license and say, this is my source of income. Very soon, in years to come, I mean, the list can go on. Bankers, tellers, there's a lot of automation happening. Even car industries, even people who used to spray in insecticides in the farms, now there are drones that can do that. So there's a lot. In mining now, there's a thing, you just drill down. People used to dig to go down there. So all those jobs are kind of being eliminated because of technological advancements. So all we are trying to urge people is that it's good to have the knowledge of medicine or whatever it is you're in, but try and think international. What solution can you provide to somebody that everybody now wants that product or service at a little amount, and you then get to make tons of money? That's the difference with everybody. But if all of us are going to be doctors, all of us are going to be lawyers, trust you me, the salary is still the same. But if you create something that is different from everybody else, that everybody buys into, that they just click and download and have, you're totally going to be different from everybody else. So that's the mindset we're trying to have people be to different. Have. A lot of students, when Mark Zuckerberg was at school, were doing the exact same program as he was. But then he decided to do something else. Same with Bill Gates, same with Strive Masiwa, same with whoever. is an entrepreneur. We all look the same until we start following what we love to do wholeheartedly, and then guess what? Sooner than later, that person is going to begin. You see?
I like that. Hands, we all look the same.
Yeah.
Obey Gosa, thank you so much for tuning in. He sends greetings. Right, we want to get into the 5 things that we need to do to change our lives for the better. And when these 5 things are given to us, know that it's a matter of consistency. It's not just doing it kawan and then you feel like, oh yeah, then my life is going to change for the better. You have to consistently do it, and this is where we fail most of the time. We might have the keys, we've got the points, we've been writing, George, we've been writing, but the life is not changing. The money is not changing. The money, she is going. The money, she's running.
She's not coming to you.
She's not coming
Why
to
is
me.
she not coming in your
pocket?
pocket?
The money not coming into the pocket? Or you see the money circulating in different circles, but you've got the notes, you've got everything. The thing that is blocking us, I remember you mentioned, was the consistency and the discipline side of things. You do it once, twice, and you think, yeah, that you bad, that you must. No, my guy, that's what you must. Rambo cheetah until you see the results continuously happening. So where are we kicking it off with these 5 things that?
All right, so 5 habits that will lead you to a greater life.
Habits. It's not just things.
5 habits. Things are habits, but there are 5 habits that will definitely determine you have a greater, successful, and a happier life. So number 1, we're going to go through this a bit quick because of time, so we can leave a little time for questions. The number 1 thing, what is your why, right? A lot of people out there do not have what is called a why. What's your daily routine? If I spend time with you, Becky, if I spend a day with you, I can definitely guarantee what you're about and where you're going to end up. And people with a strong why do not have time to waste their time doing unnecessary things. They're driven. They're waking up early, going to the gym, focusing on their craft. They don't entertain people who are distracting them from what they want to achieve. And when you know your why, it's easier for you to find out how you can actually achieve what you want to achieve. Because you know, I need to spend 2 hours in the gym. Straight after the gym, I need to go and work. So most people live their lives chamuka inyama. They don't know what they're about. They don't know what their why is. I definitely know what my why is. I wake up every single morning. I know I'm a morning person. There's nobody who can distract me between 8 to 12 because that's my work time. That's where I've got a lot of energy to focus and concentrate on things. So people need to have a strong why. What is it that people cannot distract you of? And there's so many people in this day and age. You're distracted by your phone. You're distracted by people who call you, people who come in your office and start talking gossip about unnecessary things. So number 1 thing, what's your why? You have to be willing to outwork everybody in your industry, in your field, in your department.
So George, are you saying between like 5 in the morning, maybe that's the time you wake up?
Yeah, I wake up at 5 o'clock.
At 5, all right. So between 5 and 12 o'clock, you are standing on business.
Yeah.
And you say between 8 and 12, that's like your working hours. That's when you put in most of the work. So after 12, what is George doing?
So after 12, it's networking time. It's going around to see customers, to see the work we're doing. So I need to at least in a day see 4 to 5 clients.
Okay.
So in a week, I need to see 20 clients, right? In a month, I need to see 80 clients. So every single day, I have to deliberately see a certain number of customers. And this is at the end of the month that will determine the amount of sales. So this is a habit by outworking. There are a lot of people who may say, I want to see 10, call 20 customers. But for me, it's physically calling people the day before, a week before, say, I'm going to see you on such and such a day, and do that. That's what will differentiate you from everybody else.
Right.
Having a structured plan and executing it. And that will ultimately lead to bigger results. So number 1, you need to outwork people in whatever it is that you do. Right?
Right.
Number 2, you gotta have what is called me time, right? Me time. All successful people have a time where they have time to themselves, where they meditate, where they pray, where they have self-reflection time. Now, all successful people, trust you me, if ever you're going to be great, you have to have a little time in your car, in your office, or it's a time you go to the mountain, and you spend some time alone. And what I love the most about me time, I always go with my journal wherever I go. And it's important, even if you're going to be great and successful,
Mm-hmm.
be old school and not write in your phone. Write in a book called a journal. There's certain ideas that will come when you're by yourself. There's certain things that will click. Write them down, because those things at the time you're either praying or doing some self-retrospect about where is it that I want to go? What's my why? What am I executing? Am I doing these things? There's certain things that will come to your mind that will help you to become what you want to be. So if you don't have time for yourself, you're never gonna achieve anything, because you need to have self-retrospect time. You gotta have time where you really look into yourself and analyze, what is it that I am doing?
Right.
Where am I going? What am I wanting to achieve? And write things down. Number 3, the abbreviation KEY, right? KEY. Keep educating yourself, right? You gotta keep educating yourself. Now, this is a habit that people need to understand. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you are never going to learn anything new. Now, in this very fast, ever-changing life, we know that our phones are updating, everything else is updating, but the last update you had, the last book you read, I don't know how long ago that was. One thing I do deliberately to people who know me, very rarely do I listen to music in my car. The university I go to is my car, because there are podcasts, there are audios, there are successful principles of people that I listen to whenever I'm on a highway. On my trip to Mutare with my kids, I had to go through a good hour of things that I was listening to, because that's my daily routine. And it doesn't matter who is in my car, we can stop conversation whilst I go through a book that's an audio book, or it's something that I'm constantly learning from that. So when you keep updating your mental software, there's certain things that also happen to your mind. I always tell people that your mind is the most untapped resource, and it only does according to what it knows. So if I see your life, Becky, and where you are, I can determine that your life is a sum total result of the information you have.
Or don't have.
So when you don't have information about what successful people did, you'll never know what they did. But if you have more, it will push you, it will expand you, it will cause you to say, don't rely on one stream, to give you ideas whilst you're driving, wherever you are. So the more you keep learning and learning and learning, there's something that will happen in your mind which will keep intriguing you. This is why all these great CEOs, they're always reading. It's amazing that CEOs read 5 books a year, 10 books a year. But you, who's listening to us, one book, just one, is very difficult for you to read. Because, like they said, if you want to hide something from
a black man,
just put it in a
book. That
So
statement was so painful. That
it
I
is.
was,
And if most people who are listening to us now are giggling inside because they have not read a motivational book, a self-help book,
a book.
or even, remember what we said about YouTube? If I see your search history on YouTube, I can tell Urungotraga sounds and music, but there's nothing self-educating. I want to see something self-educating on your YouTube search list.
Right.
Number 4, they exercise, right? I want to be a billionaire is what George always says. And George is going to be a billionaire in years to come. But get this correctly. If I don't take care of this so-called thing called my body, how will I then enjoy it when I reach that destination? All successful people I know have a routine, a habit to exercise. I wake up at 5 o'clock, Becky. I work out at home. I do some skipping, do some swimming. I do whatever it is to get my mind going. I play golf on certain days. I play soccer. I got to keep my mind active, because a healthy mind needs a healthy body. So if you exercise, trust you me, and it's amazing what exercise does to those who exercise. It does something to you mentally. It also keeps you mentally on point and sharp. That competitiveness you have in sports, or even on I have to work out, I have to shed off X number of kgs, that win that you have when you lose weight or you get that six-pack, it does something also on your business side. So it's also important that we really work on exercising. And last but not least, I love this. Without a vision, you will perish. without a vision, you will definitely perish. What is it that you want to be? A lot of people say, George Billionaire, this, that, and the other. But guess what? This is a vision that I have of myself. And what's your vision? What is it that you want to ultimately be? Now, if your vision, like we go to all companies, there's a vision statement. And I think that's the most important thing. Becky, with no money where you are today, what life do you want? What do you want to achieve? What type of car do you want to drive? What lifestyle ultimately do you want? Where do you want to travel? Where do you want your kids to go to school? Before you have it, you have to have a vision. Now, when you do not have a vision, trust you me, it will be very difficult to go anywhere, because it's like getting in your car and saying, I'm going. And you don't know where you're going, because anywhere will go. But when you know where you are going, your habits, your actions, the things you do will also relate with where you want to go.
So it's not enough to say, I want a good life.
No. You need to be specific. You know, it's amazing what the Word of God says. God will only give you the desires of your heart. And a good life is not a desire. Be specific to the things that you want. I want a nice car. There are many nice cars, but be specific.
Which nice car?
Yeah, I want money. Be specific.
How much?
Be specific with what you want. I want to stay in a nice house. There are many nice houses in many locations, but be specific. And if you do this, most of the time you'll find out. You know, I was hearing this podcast about Jim Carrey and how he wrote himself $1 million check and he put it in his wallet. And 4 years later, he got the exact amount he wrote in his wallet. 4 years later, it took 4 years, get it correctly, but he had that piece of paper still in his wallet.
So when he was working and putting in the work and rehearsals and everything, he had that $1 million.
He did not know how it was going to happen. But the universe, God, only gives you the desires you have. So mine is $1 billion. I don't know what others is. You gotta be specific, and this is the power of writing it down. In Habakkuk 2:2 it says, "Make the vision plain." Right?
Is that why then you are emphasizing on write it down?
Write it down. Have a vision, not just in your head. This is why I love journals. And I know the pulses are people who are always writing things down, not on a piece of paper, but in a journal. Write it down. See it, repeatedly say, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to become. And you know what will happen? There are certain traits. Now you won't just go and spend money recklessly, because you know ultimately what you want to be. And you'll constantly work on that thing. And then later on you'll be like, I wrote this down. This was my vision. And ultimately, that's how it comes to pass. Becky, before you build a house, believe it or not, what's the first thing that you get before you start building a house?
Land.
You get land, and then they do a plan for you, right? Then they show you the 3D visual of what it will be,
look like,
right? At that time, will you have the funds for it?
Probably not.
Probably not. But ultimately, that vision is key. And this is what people need to understand, that these are the 5 habits. There's so many habits, but these are the 5 major habits. Number 1, you got to outwork everybody. Number 2, you got to spend time alone. Me time. Make sure you spend time alone and focus on you. Number 3, key. K-E-Y. Keep educating yourself.
And this is not like going back to school or anything. It's like
self-educate.
Anything that can improve the way you think.
We have podcasts. We have YouTube. We have so many things we can listen to instead of just listening to music. Number 4, right? Exercise. You gotta exercise. That body that you want to take care of you in many years, when you have all the abundance of money, you got to start taking care of it now. I love how we all are servicing our cars to make sure that our cars stay long. Same thing with your body. Drink water, exercise, walk, do what you must do. And number 5, last but not least, without a vision, we will definitely perish. So it's important that we must have a vision, and with that, these are the 5 habits that I can tell you will guarantee you to have a successful life.
Uncle Billy, thank you so much. It is 1 o'clock. We'll be getting into the news right now. Just a quick survey in the room. Panakanyura amount yake pazeri. We didn't want to make this amount. Million. 1 million. 1 billion. 1 jet.
1 hour.
Ishe?
And anyura shmusirima.
Unonyura. Niko makanyure.
So
It's 1 o'clock on Capital XM. Bye for the news.